Hey everybody, Brandon Lester here, wrapping up the 2020 Bassmaster Elite Series season. Thank you guys for following along all year on the Mossy Oak Fishing Recaps. I'm going to take you through some of my favorite fish catches this whole year for the 2020 season. All right, let's start it off right here at Lake Guntersville. Biggest tournament of the year, Bassmaster Classic. This is the first morning.
Oh my God, what a bass. Dude, I got a
I get to
and I'm talking about a
I get to my starting spot, and my second or third fish is an absolute Guntersville giant. I mean, we're talking, I want to say it weighed real close to 8 pounds, 7'11", 7'12", somewhere around there. It was a dang big one. Throwing a lipless crankbait just out on the backside of the main river channel. And this is the kind of fish that you're looking for in March on Lake Guntersville. Really set the tone for that tournament.
Bassmaster Classic, baby. Look at that one. Woo! Yeah.
I was a little bit fired up, if you can't tell.
That don't get you fired up. You ain't breathing.
Then later on day number 2, I caught some flipping boat docks. This was like a 6-pounder, 6 something. I actually flipped this fish twice. It was beside a pontoon boat. I had to flip it over the rope right there. And then I decided, well, I've already flipped it once. I might as well just flip it on in the boat. Man, that was awesome.
Yes. I'm gonna tell you something right now. If I didn't sit down there and grab that other rod with that 20-pound vicious fluorocarbon on it, I would have never caught that fish. Yes! Thank you, Lord. Son, that's a big one. Six-pounder all day.
It's the best fish catch of the day.
Here we move on to the St. Johns River. This is day 2. I had a horrible first day. I actually zeroed the first day. So the second day, went out, just got in an area, picked up a flipping stick, and this is like a 5-pounder right here. Big momentum. Came back with a 35th place finish there, so that was a big deal. This is at Lake Eufaula, the second tournament of the year. I was catching like 30 to 40 keepers a day, but catching one like a 5+ pounder was hard to do. I was catching a lot of 2.5, 3-pound fish. This is the third day of the tournament. I had my wife, my girls, a couple of my best friends out there. They're actually sitting, you can't see them in the camera, but they're sitting less than 20 yards from my boat, and they're watching it all go down. You'll see them holler for me when I land this fish in a minute.
Yes.
You can hear them holler right there. Something I'll never forget, man. That was a really fun tournament. I hope we go back to Eufaula because I love that place. I really did. All right, moving on to the St. Lawrence River. Saw some fish down on my Lowrance, the 2D sonar down in about 35 feet of water. Dropped a drop shot down there, got the fish to bite. Pretty good sized smallmouth. You know, I did not have a great tournament there. I have had some great tournaments there in my career. I did not have a great tournament there this year, but you know, it's all about getting points on the board, and that's what this year came down to for me. So this was definitely a big fish. I'd say probably close to a 4-pound smallmouth here. I had hit a little wad of him. I caught 3 or 4 pretty quick in this spot. He almost jumped in the boat there, and then I grabbed him really quick. But man, those smallmouth, they never give up. Moving on to Lake Champlain. I had a couple of different deals going at Champlain. I was catching them real early in the morning out on a sand flat. And then this one right here, I was actually targeting deep boulders later on in the day when the sun got up. I idled over. I see that fish sitting down there on my Lowrance electronics, so I turn around. You can see I've still got my life jacket on. I wasn't planning on spending much time on this spot, but I drop down. I see the fish sitting on that rock, drop down to it and get the fish to bite. And a pretty darn good smallmouth. I mean, this is a big cull and making culls are a big deal at Lake Champlain because there's a lot of 3-pounders, but not a lot of 4+ pounders. So definitely a good sized smallmouth here for Lake Champlain. And a train wreck. This is at Lake St. Clair. I had started out on the lake, wasn't doing very good. Come into some sea walls. I'm throwing a Ned rig. I throw it by a seawall. I actually thought I was hung on some grass there. And when I tried to set the hook on the fish, my line actually got wrapped around my reel. So I had to hand line the fish in. So you see me hand lining the smallmouth in right here. And I realized, it's not a great big fish, but it's definitely a fish catch that I won't forget, because trying to hand line this fish in, I just remember thinking, man, how is this going to end? This is crazy. But I ended up getting the fish in, and ended up not having a terrible tournament there. Not great, but not terrible. Finished middle of the road, I think. But this is actually in the St. Clair River, and pretty crazy, but I was able to get the fish in, thankfully. Moving on to Lake Guntersville. This is the afternoon of day 2. This will actually be my 5th fish right here. I saw some activity in a little milfoil mat. I got back in a place. At 1 o'clock, I actually had 0 fish. I had 4 fish. I had to be in at 2:30. This is probably about 2:15 right here. I catch my 5th fish on a frog out of a milfoil mat. So that was a big deal. I gained a lot of AOY points that day. That was a very important day in my season. Santee Cooper, the next tournament, I flip in a mat. I had just made a bait change. I flip in a mat and I get a huge thump. And you can see right there, it looked like I hooked an alligator, man. That fish came out of there wide open. This was a big one, a 6+ pounder. Best I can remember. And man, there's no funner way to catch one than flipping in a hyacinth net. Look at those hyacinths right there in the background. I had flipped in there that 60-pound vicious braid. I knew I had the right line, the right hook. I was using a 4/0 Mustang Grip Pin Max flipping hook. I knew I had everything right. So when you hook a big one like that, just hold on and wear them down. That was definitely a big deal catching that fish right there.
She was not coming off. God, that's a 6.5. Yeah.
Moving on to Lake Fork, last tournament of the year. Those big fish on Lake Fork live on that timber. That's how Patrick Walters won the tournament. I just flipped my jig over next to the right laydown, or the right piece of standing timber, and I hooked a big one. The thing about it is, there's no rhyme or reason with that standing timber. You can fish 1,000 pieces of standing timber in a day, and eventually you'll throw it beside one, and the law of averages kicks in. And you'll catch a great big one, and that's what happened here. This was over a 6-pounder, or right at a 6-pounder on day number 2. I think I made the comment I fished all day for that fish. Man, it's fun catching them on that big jig too. And I was also catching some this is also at Lake Fork. This is the morning of day number 3. I was also catching some on a drop shot, and I just pitched my drop shot up next to a dock, just trying to get some keepers in the boat first thing in the morning. And I catch a 7-pound, 12-ouncer, I believe it was, almost an 8-pounder on a drop shot rig. Now I had 10-pound vicious snow fade braid on my main line. I had 12-pound vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon on my leader line, so I knew I had enough line to catch the fish. I had a good hook. I had my drop shot rig beefed up a little bit. I had it rigged Lake Fork style, if you will, but that's a dang big one to be catching on a drop shot on a spinning rod. Man, that was a fun fish. Ended up finishing, I think, 13th place there. And that is the end of the year. Caught a lot of good fish this year. Like I said, you know, ended up 25th place in AOI. Looking forward to getting to that Bassmaster Classic next year and looking forward to getting next year started. Y'all stay tuned. Thank you for watching all year long right here on the Mossy Oak Fishing Recap.